It's a chilly night in 1995 at an underground punk show in San Francisco. A circle of teenagers thrash, scream, and cringe at the chaos outside. The police have been called. Someone has just been labeled a deviant again, but what if deviance isn't about what you do, but who decides what's deviant? Imagine the power to brand actions, people, even identities. How does society pick its outcasts and why? Let's unravel these constructions of deviance. Let's start with the basics. Deviance isn't a fixed thing. It's a social script written by players in power, constantly rewritten across time and place. In one standout essay, Patricia and Peter Adler dive into a 1970s New York methamphetamine scene where using drugs was normalized among certain groups but vilified outside. Here, deviance wasn't about the act itself but who witnessed it. A dealer was a criminal in one context and a community figure in another, showing how deviance shifts depending on who's telling the story. Think of labeling deviance like putting a spotlight on a stage actor. The label focuses audience attention and changes how they interpret the whole play. Once someone's spotlighted as deviant, their actions no longer stand independently. They're seen through that colored light, reshaping how everyone reacts to them. The payoff, some labeled deviants begin to adopt the identity thrust on them, almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. For instance, a teenage graffiti artist caught painting walls might first be seen as a vandal, but over time could embrace the rebel identity, influencing behavior and social circles indefinitely. Behind every deviant label is a complex social system working overtime to maintain order and boundaries. Let's break down that construction site. One chapter recounts a small town wrestling with a wave of teenage shoplifting accusations. Adults, cops, parents all played their parts in escalating fear, painting kids as threats. But beneath the surface, many teens saw their acts as minor rebellion, not crime. This clash of perspectives shows deviance as a social negotiation rather than a fixed reality. Imagine rules as a giant game board with players switching roles between makers and breakers. Sociologists Adler and Adler explain that deviance isn't just the act, it's the dynamic power games, like a referee calling fouls or players choosing to cheat, that keep society balanced or tipping. Then there are moral panics, those sudden social fires like the 1980s satanic ritual scare. Media, officials, and citizens feed the flames, turning unproven fears into real social consequences. These panics build and collapse, but they leave lasting marks on who society excludes or protects. Once labeled, deviants forge their own worlds with rules, relationships, and roles. What happens inside these social enclaves? Let's peek behind the curtain. The Adlers document a 1990s research group hanging out with a community of homeless youth in Portland, Oregon, many branded as deviant by society. Inside, they formed tight bonds, created their own norms, and supported each other through mutual experiences of exclusion, a vivid reminder that deviant communities aren't just chaotic but deeply structured. Stigma isn't just external. A young woman labeled promiscuous learned to navigate judgment by owning the label and reframing it as empowerment within her peer group. This negotiation shows how deviants actively reshape how stigma affects their self-worth and survival. What's striking, deviant status can fuel surprising transformations. The same youths, initially written off, often become powerful activists or community organizers. Their outsider perspective turned into insider knowledge, leveraging their experiences for social change. Remember that punk show where the police circled? What seemed like chaos was really society's script in action, who gets labeled and who doesn't. Deviance isn't about the act but the story society tells around it. Next time you catch yourself judging, pause and ask, who's writing the script here? Try this. Challenge one assumption about deviance today. It changes everything. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.